Something is gone. The business, the marriage, the job, the money, the years. Whichever one it was for you, it is not coming back in the form you had it, and the worst part is not the loss. It is the morning after, when the world carries on and expects you to as well. You are not starting from zero. You are starting from experience, which is a considerably worse position, because zero does not remember. Around 300 BC, a merchant lost an entire cargo in a shipwreck off Athens. Everything. And what he built afterwards is the reason you have heard of Stoicism at all. 7 rules. And the 5th is the one that actually rebuilds a man, because it fixes the thing lost breaks that nobody names. One thing before we begin. I am not going to tell you this happened for a reason, or that it will turn out to be the best thing that ever happened to you. You have heard that already, probably from someone it did not happen to. Listen instead, as though each rule is a thing to do this week. That is all this is, not comfort. Instructions. Rule 1. The first instinct is to make it mean something, to find the lesson, the redirection, the reason. And every man around you will encourage it, because a loss with a meaning is easier for them to be near. Do not do it yet. A meaning applied too early is not acceptance. It is an argument with what happened, and arguments take energy you do not currently have. Epictetus said, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to be as they are." Notice what that does not say. Not that the thing was good, that it is the case, and arguing with what is the case is the one form of effort guaranteed to return nothing. It happened. That is the whole sentence. You do not owe it an interpretation, so drop the why for now. It arrives later on its own, usually about a year out, and if it never arrives, you will still have rebuilt, because rebuilding never required it. But dropping the why leaves you standing on nothing. Rule 2 is where you find the floor. Rule 2. The fear right now is not really about what happened. It is about how much further down it goes. And because you have never been to the bottom, your mind prices it as infinite. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, deliberately spent days on plain food and rough clothing, and then asked himself one question. Is this what I was afraid of? He was not performing humility. He was collecting data. A man who has stood on the floor knows where it is, and a known floor stops being a threat. So do it deliberately this week. Write out the actual worst case, not the feeling, the logistics. Where you would live, what you would eat, who you would call. The bottom is a place. It has a floor. What you are afraid of is the falling, and the falling has already happened. Most men are quietly startled by this exercise because the worst case turns out to be survivable and specific rather than infinite and vague. Now you know the floor. Rule 3 is finding out what is still standing on it. Rule 3. Here is the man from the hook. Z. Noopsidium was a merchant carrying purple dye, the most valuable cargo in the ancient world, and he lost the lot in a shipwreck off Athens. His trade, his fortune, and the identity he had spent his life building, gone in a night. He wandered into a bookshop in a city he had not planned to be in, started reading philosophy, and never went back to trade. He founded Stoicism. Diogenes Laertius records what he said about it later. I made a prosperous voyage when I suffered shipwreck. Read that carefully. It is not a man grateful for the wreck. It is a man reporting, decades later, what turned out to be true. And he could only say it decades later. What he had on the shore was not nothing. He had what he knew, what he could do, what he had survived. Those are not assets you lose in a night. You lost what you had. You did not lose what you know. So write the list. Skills, relationships that stayed. Things you survived before this. Not to feel better. To find out what you are actually building with, because you cannot build with an inventory you have never taken. Now you have materials. Rule 4 is what to do with them, and it is smaller than you think. Quick one. If you are watching this because something actually happened, not hypothetically, type standing in the comments. Nothing else. Just so you can see how many men are in the same week. Rule 4. The question everyone asks is, what are you going to do now? And it flattens you every time. Because it demands a 5-year answer from a man who cannot currently plan a Thursday. So refuse the time scale. Not forever. For now. Your horizon this month is 1 week, and inside it, 3 things. That is not a smaller version of a real plan. It is what planning looks like when the ground is still moving. Marcus Aurelius, running an empire through plague and war, wrote to himself, "Do not disturb yourself by picturing your whole life at once. Confine yourself to the present." A man who cannot see the year can still see Tuesday. Build on Tuesday. And when someone asks what you are going to do, you now have an honest answer that costs you nothing. I am working on this week. Most people accept it. The ones who push are not asking for you. Now the rule this entire video was built around, because everything so far is logistics, and the thing that actually broke was not logistical. Rule 5. Here is what loss actually takes. And it is not the thing you lost. You had a sentence about yourself. I am the man who runs this. I am the man she chose. I am the man who provides. It ran underneath everything and told you who you were before you had to think about it. That sentence is gone. And what you are experiencing as grief for the business or the marriage is substantially grief for the sentence, which is why it does not respond to logistics, and why fixing the money does not fix the feeling. You did not just lose what you had. You lost the sentence that told you who you were. So it has to be rebuilt, and it can only be rebuilt one way. Out of what you actually do, starting now, at whatever scale is available. Not affirmation. Evidence, something small and unwitnessed, kept daily. Epictetus said, "Do not explain your philosophy, embody it." And that was never more literal than here. You will not think your way back into being someone. You will accumulate it. And be clear about the timeline, because the honesty matters more than the encouragement. 30 days of this produces almost nothing you can see. 90 produces a man who has stopped checking whether he is recovering, and that is the actual milestone. Not because he recovered, but because he became busy. 2 rules left. The next is about the people who watched it happen. Rule 6. Part of what is keeping you flat is not the loss. It is that people saw it. You are running a private calculation about what they think now. The ones who warned you, the ones who did well while you did not. The ones being kind in a way that feels like something else. Epictetus, born a slave and owned by another man, drew the line that ends this. Some things are up to us, others are not. Your reputation is on the second list. It always was. You simply never had to notice while it was intact. You cannot rebuild your reputation. You can only rebuild yourself, and the reputation follows at its own speed, or not at all. So stop managing the story. No explaining to people who did not ask. No performance of recovery. When the pull comes to justify yourself at a family table, say the plain version once and let the silence sit. 1 rule left, and it is not a technique. Rule 7. Look back at the 6. Do not reframe it yet. Find the floor. Count what survived. Shrink the horizon. Rebuild the man. Stop managing the witnesses. None of it was about getting back what you lost. All of it was about the part of you that was never available to be taken. That is the Stoic claim, and it is not consolation. Everything outside, money, work, standing, even the people, was always on loan. And losing it is what loans do. What was never on loan is how you conduct yourself from here. Z. No lost his cargo and gained the thing men still read 2,000 years later. Not because loss is a gift, because he was standing on the shore with nothing and started anyway, before he had any idea it would come to anything. Your challenge is 1 rule, not 7. Rule 3. Tonight. Write the list of what survived. Skills, people who stayed, things you got through before this. On paper, not in your head, because the head keeps losing it. Then come back and comment survived, and how many items were on the list. Most men expect 3 or 4 and stop somewhere past 10, and every rule here assumes you can sit alone with your own thoughts for an hour without needing to escape them. In this particular week, that is harder than usual. That video is on your screen now. 5 Stoic reasons being alone makes you unstoppable. I'll see you there.